I call about SVTV Africa, so if I'm DJ Nyame, Monim say every week be assessing as kind no ghetto life stories, no. Yeah, the segment way back to the sense more more feel na mo pass mo a little bit about it. You be a film. Some say ghetto life story they call failed and any addicts ne kasa. Sa na e counselor or her, addiction professional counselor or her, or no so be teaching say but say na be ya more feel so bet me be a film. Wa wom de da and I wa also afiance why you so be common no wait me so sanya mo we say na be ya obetwe film kra. Let's say no to drugs. Oh share ya na de bia na e boy home dey say ye be bo say na be ya addicts no drugs no no be ba form and no na SVTV Africa Foundation dey see any so ye ene ye benya Steven Sanke ene so ne ba betwe nkomo say na every week bia na oye no and Steven Sanke ne ba betwe nkomo fi House of St Francis oni aba betwetwe nkombo meda aseda before be start mo menda aseda shipping limited ase mo mo UK am pese mo de nyama baga na nya no ye kanfo aseda shipping limited mamo parcel boxes TV bibia pese fridge bibia pese ode ba bia no free aseda shipping limited wona mes na wo screen so no ye be sra mo so say mo hwe videos ni ade mo try na mo hit on subscribe no so when subscribe ni yanyiska subscribe na cho wase o hit so apa obi ka tell me say subscribe there ye gia hinam so subscribe there say one like page no o like it once but one like it bi say na e be ade bia na the video to so ube first person obetimi ahwe ntia na mo subscribe mo share channel na mo subscribe na message den kosro because your target say this year at the end of the year na e benya 200k 200,000 followers see afi na ye ko 100 e be say mo subscribe ka cha wadam fo bi recommend channel ma wadam fo because ejuma ye bo no e be hia mo say hia mo na channel na ngu ayi ntimi nye ejuma no ye bo amanfo na ye ko ha nyina mo na ye hia be say mo subscribe to channel no enti yenko tie eye Steven Sanke as week we mu or the episode 6 brain yenko tie.
Hello everyone, you are welcome once again to our program where we seek to educate all of us on issues concerning addiction. Like we have said, our program is solely centered on substance addiction, but we have taken our time sometimes to dive a little bit into other or general addictions. Now we have talked about so many things concerning addiction. Today we are straightforward going to talk about the 12 steps recovery program. We said the last time that there are so many pathways to recovery, but for our program today, we are solely going to take the 12-step program. My name is Sanke, an addiction professional and a counselor at the House of St. Francis Rehabilitation Center. So let us go straight forward into our 12-step program. Today we are talking about step 1. Step 1, we admitted we were powerless over our addictions and that our lives had become unmanageable. This is the most difficult, if I have to say, step in all of the 12 steps. Why do I say this? It is difficult because normally most of us have a problem with a concept of surrendering. Now let me take my time and see how best I could break this step down. Before anybody can successfully be helped in whatever addictions or in whatever problems we have in life, it is very important that we are able to surrender our self-will, or we are able to surrender ourselves to the fact that we cannot continue to live in that problem. For example, if I have a problem with alcohol abuse or alcohol addiction, I have been drinking for so long, I have seen problems in my life. For example, I have been drinking for so many years. Suddenly, I am beginning to feel that it is beginning to disturb me physically, it is beginning to disturb me socially. But yet, I do not want to admit that I have a problem and seek help for it. In such a situation, it is very difficult to help me. Now, so many of us have problems in our lives. Take away addiction. You would admit that a lot of people have so many issues in their lives. The issues are so big that all they need to do to be able to deal with it is to be able to surrender to the fact that they cannot solve the problems on their own. Now, you remember some time ago, we spoke about defense mechanisms. Defense mechanisms, most of these or some of these defense mechanisms are the reasons why we are not able to surrender completely to our problems. People have said that persons who use drugs are people with weak self-wills. Well, I'm of a different opinion. Why do I say this? People with weak self-wills, do you think such persons would continue to do things that are killing them? I mean, let me put it in another way. Me no mensa, me shiwi and me num cocaine. Cocaine no kume. Now so still me who say kume no me so no pay me san ko econom sa cocaine and me san ko econom science no, and you call me a weak-willed person? And you call me a weak-willed person? No. Such people are strong-willed people, but unfortunately, no, this self-will is actually geared towards the wrong thing. Now, when we talk about our step 1, admitting we're totally powerless, let me just take it in that part first. We admitted we're totally powerless. So far, we have talked about the consequences of addiction, the problems of addiction, the causes of addiction, the stages of addiction. All of these things that we have talked about should be able to help you realize that if you do not understand what we are saying, think back and understand that we have said so many things concerning this. Do you find yourself in any of these problems? Then it should be easy for you to what? Surrender totally. I remember when we were growing up, I used to watch a lot of action movies, where war films, where people would always be going. Even currently, most of the movies that I watch, you would always find that, say, police people arrest someone, they will tell you what? Hands up. Show us your hands. Now, take that scenario or take that illustration, for example. When you put your hands up and the police say, keep your hands up. Once you fail to keep your hands up and you try to bring it down, what do? They shoot you. Why? Because they believe that if you have surrendered, that surrender should be complete. We need you to understand that you have started realizing that you are powerless. Powerless in the sense that what? You are not able to control your use of the drugs. So why do you still try to continue to do it on your own? You need help. Until you're able to admit that you need help and that you yourself cannot do it on your own, you cannot get the help. And so when we talk about the first step, where we say what? We admitted completely that we're powerless over our addictions. This is what we mean. Do not surrender halfway. Do not surrender 80%, 90%. In the beginning, I said what? This is the most difficult step because some of us, when we started our recovery program, we went into the rehab, sat in the rehab for months, learned the program very well. When we came out, what did we do? We relapsed. Went back into the rehabilitation center a second time, stayed there, went through the program successfully. Came out looking very good physically. Before we realized, we went back to drinking and smoking. It wasn't the end there. We went back a third time. We say third time now you call back no. We were sure that this time we're not going to what? Do it again. Learned the program very well this time. Thought we were going to do things differently from what we did the previous times. We came out again after so many months. What did we do? We relapsed a third time. I can continue because for persons like me, we relapsed more than 3 times before we even got it right. Now, why did we continue to relapse? The secret is that we failed to surrender completely to the fact that we could not use our drugs or our alcohol successfully. Sometimes now if you say you're smart, and so we say what? Okay, since I may know my petition, beer need to say alcohol content and to say appetition. Sometimes we said okay, since I may know insane biome, menum jot means say jot in the mommy feeling it say obinum cocaine or say then now I will not take the cocaine again, menum heroin biome, menum mensa. Anytime you try to substitute, anytime you try to be smart about it, what you are doing is that you are only giving us the proof that you have not surrendered totally. Once you don't surrender totally, you cannot stop the use. Be smart about it. Say whatever you want to say. See, I have come across people who have very strong spirits. When I say strong spirits, you could realize that these people were powerful people in their spirits. The person was very powerful in his mind. Wako school, baby, professional maybe even a doctor, maybe another profession. Which means the nipa we were nyansa pa na wako school akwechi onimade, and such people could not recover. The problem is that this person has not totally, the key word here is what? Totally surrendered to the concept or the notion that I cannot use again in any form, shape or type. So until you're able to what? Get that help, or until you're able to stop the use of drugs successfully, you have to be able to surrender totally. How am I going to what? Be happy again? It's because of that, maybe to make kakra or we are not a kofa. Obviously, na cocaine me say I'm ready to stop. But what if I go for a funeral? Once you keep these things in your mind, it is impossible to get what? The sobriety you are looking for. And so what we are saying in step 1 is that what? Admit that no, baby, I cannot continue to use my drugs in any form, in any type, on any occasion. Once you admit totally 100%, then you are good to go. Now, is that the end? The next part of our step 1 says what? We admitted we were powerless. First part, no. The next part is what? And we could not manage our lives. We admitted we were powerless over our addictions, and our lives had become what? Unmanageable. Now, when we say our lives, had become what? Unmanageable. What do we mean? Most of the time we are what? We like to think that when we talk about our lives, we are referring to many paname wahano. So me, Sanke, sitting here today, when I talk about my life, I'm not just talking about my body sitting here. Most of the time, that's what we do. We like to think that when we say your life, it is just you. No, your life is a big, complicated thing. Or your life involves so many other things apart from just you. Yes, your life involves your body, your mind, your spirit. It also involves your parents, your social circle, your education, your job, and everything that makes you who you are. Take for example, as I sit here, if I should fall down right now, would DJ Nyame ignore me? No, because he has become part of my life. And as I share my phone, so I share contacts, maybe mom, dad, now I didn't hear, because mom, dad are part of Sanke, my life today. And when you are using the drugs, you have to admit that what? Maybe you will not enfound, but it is killing your family. It is destroying your job. It is destroying your health. It is destroying things around your marriage. If you cannot manage all of these parts of your life, how do you now say then your life is not manageable properly? People are going to work successfully. Because of insanity and the identity, if you say you're a good manager of your work, why then can you not manage your marriage? Or why then can you not manage what? Your family? And so when we talk about step one, it is very important that you see all of these things. Normally, when counselors get the opportunity to work with people who struggle to surrender or who struggle to become willing to be helped, we call something nurturing the willingness. We take our time to work with you in the beginning, to try to gradually tell you about the consequences, begin to open the problems, begin to open some ideas into your mind so that you see that no, if you do not stop this, you are going to find problem for yourself. We call that what? Nurturing willingness. So if you are home listening to me right now, maybe your son, your brother, or your relative is seriously drinking or smoking. You are trying to help the person and you find that what the person is not stopping. Maybe you should get a professional helper. Someone like me, a counselor, or any other person who has been through the program perhaps. That person knows how to nurture the willingness. Last week when we talked about the pathways, I mentioned one, cognitive behavioral therapy. And we said it was putting thinking and behavior together. Maybe you think you are doing good thinking. Now in cognitive, what I will do is that I'll sit you down, probably tell you to write out the pros and cons of your lifestyle currently. You are smoking, you are drinking, you are endangering yourself. I will tell you sit down and write. What are the advantages? So in such a situation, I will tell you, say, let us sit down. Since you are not ready, right? Let us sit down. Can you write out the pros and cons of your continual use of drugs or alcohol? Or start to say what you say no. Maybe the pros is that it makes me feel confident. It gives me I feel high, I'm happy, I'm excited. Now let us go to the cons. Cons, my family. I'm breaking my family apart. I am losing my health. I am losing my job. I'm probably losing my mind. Now all of these things as compared to so-called pros do they make sense to you? This is what we do. We try to throw more light on the problem for you. And when we do that, we believe that gradually you are going to nurture your willingness. Understand that this is a hard decision. People have been smoking, people have been drinking, people have been dealing with their problems for so many years. We will have 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. It doesn't just take a one-day advice. It doesn't even take, we always say, it doesn't even take advice to help people. It takes a gradual strategic planning to help someone come out of the problem of addiction. I will make this a long session. This is just step one. Hopefully when we come back next week, we are going to delve more into what we call the step two, the solution. 12-step recovery dynamics. This is what we call it. Step one, admitted we're powerless over addictions and that's our lives had become unmanageable. Surrender totally. Begin to nurture the willingness. See why you need help, whatever problem you think you are dealing with, and consider this 12-step program a solution to your problem, even if you are not an addict. Thank you very much for being part of our session today. Please keep sending your questions, especially if you have questions concerning step one or anything that we are about to talk about. Those of you who have sent comments, thank you very much. We have seen your comments. Some of you have said, why don't we do this in Chi only? so that addicts who are on the street will understand what we are doing. We have thought about it. Others too have also sent us comments telling us we should continue to do this only in English so that they can also understand. Now we are hoping that in future we will be able to make this easier. Whether we are going to add subtitles or we are going to even add videos or whatever to it, we will continue to see how best we can improve this. But thank you for your comments. Thank you SVTV, Africa Foundation. Thank you House of St. Francis, and thank you our cherished listeners and viewers who are always part of our show. My name is Sanke, and thank you for being part of today's session.
Wow, you better Steven Sanke as they say. The nyina no wiki bia no nyamre otimi ba no yebeko sa teachings we wachire ade concerning addiction ho ni ase better na say Steven Sanke say mo amohwe so no at least mo sua bibie fim o say yes our program we be yes I feel say 12 steps I feel the first step aba nti mo hwe nim so de bebre na beba ye kwa to 12 na je say mu wakakra aha nti ye better na say onyamre o de bre yen wo question bia na bibia obetimi na drop e wo ase ye bekenkan na ye de abrel onu de oba ya no abe brofo pa ba me ka chense onye twi ni so kakra because ye ko getos na ye ka twi ni mo nti onye twi ni kakra brofo ne de bedu bebi no ye de subtitles ne beba ye mu se mu bi ne ye nti brofo se mu de brofo be ha ye bebiri sa na ai school akọ na school amekọ I'm a technical man who speak English. Me school amekọ me ka sere se me chem school amekọ English teacher ko ba class ko ndu 2 months no jai ya kan ya buga ko blocking level any oba na ma wa me mo school ni technical school it is technical man who speak plenty English enti ya better Sanke ase ya fa bi DJ nyame madam ase se mo de bia no motai chi mo ko so na mo subscribe to your channel na mo follow all social media handles click it subscribe no so na be join here o bibia bisa bibia obetimi afrɛ me was 0244 790902 na person go screen so sa na ase da shipping limited mo UK nyina mo besa mo dem bibi parcels boxes ni nyama bagana no say e bi borders no o bagana obetimi do nyama na ma ase da before wa be do no wa clear no de bibia abra wo fie ase da shipping limited mo na go screen so UK mo UK nyina mo from aseda shipping limited meda hotel joka say de bia no omama ye space I betimi record your programs we wa ha hotel joka wo tema committee 6 hope we bia da ya bra hotel joka e beda o ma se pa de bia no omama ye sa slot we ya be try recordings meda ma say ntimo nkoso ana mo ndi echi hia mo kroma simple ka se tour na ma je tour